What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to talk a little bit about different ways to rig up your rod and reels for sheepshead fishing. I'm going to give you 4 simple and real effective ways. We're going to talk about jig heads, we're going to talk about a Carolina rig, we're going to talk about a knocker rig, and then a split shot rig. Those are 4 simple rigs to get you going. I'm going to start here with just the simplest, which is a jig head. This particular one I've got on is a fish taco jig. Half ounce. That's what I was using today, catching the few sheepshead. But it's just a bottom sweeper jig. You know, there's a thicker shank hook. You know, not a real wide gap hook. Kind of sits on the bottom with the fiddler crab up in the air. That's one option for jig head. Then you got another option. This is a real habit jig, and it's a swing style jig. Same basic hook. You know, and it swings on a pivot here with the hook actually separate from the piece of lead. So that's another option for a jig head. And then your third option is just your standard jig head. You know, this one here is a Fish Bites Fight Club 16th ounce is what I throw from all my trout and everything. And you know, it's just your standard jig head, and this works just fine too. You know, you can use that jig head as well. That's probably the simplest, most basic way to rig up sheepshead jig, or any jig head really, but jig head and then a piece of bait, filler crab or sand flea or whatever your bait may be. Very, very simple. Tie it directly to your line, drop it down. Alright, the next rig we're going to talk about here, let's do the knocker rig. Alright, the knocker rig is, again, a very simple rig to use. You're going to have a weight. Come here, rod. You're gonna have a weight. You're gonna slide the weight on the line, okay? And you're gonna have a hook. This is a 2-0 circle hook. You can use a 2-0 circle hook, 2-0 octopus hook, kale hook. I prefer either an octopus hook or a circle hook. I'll probably use an octopus hook more than I do a circle hook, though. You know, and then just tie it on. And I use a advanced clinch knot for pretty much all my lure to line knots. It's a relatively simple knot and a fairly quick knot to tie. So there you go. There's your knocker rig right there. A weight above the hook, and that just sits on the bottom. Pretty simple. Alright, that's rig number 2. Alright, rig number 3 we'll do here is going to be the Carolina rig. Alright, we'll cut off this hook. Use it again here in a second. Now with the Carolina rig, you're going to have your weight again, your line. You're going to run your weight through your line. And you're going to have a swivel, you know, just a little barrel swivel. And that's going to go underneath the weight. Alright. The same thing, I'm tying an advanced clinch knot. I'll be tying an advanced clinch knot on all the knots here, so. Alright, so there's your weight and your swivel. Alright, and then from that point, you're going to take a piece of leader, and this is 20-pound Seaworks fluorocarbon. And, you know, for sheepshead, you probably only need 8 inches of leader. I'll give you a little bit to tie with. About 8 inches of leader, not a very long piece. Then tie again to the other end of the swivel, the leader line here, just like that. Okay, then you got your weight, your swivel, and then your piece of leader off the bottom of the swivel. And then from there, you go ahead and add your hook. And I'm using the same hook for demonstration purposes. Again, an octopus hook, circle hook. 2-0 is the size I like to use for sheepshead, though. And either one of those seems to be a good size for them. Strong enough to handle the sheepshead and small enough to not interfere with the bite. Okay, so there's your Carolina rig right there. Your weight, swivel, leader, hook. And you'll drop this down just like you do with the rest of them. Drop it down to the bottom, and as soon as it hits the bottom, lift it up, and just kind of yo-yo it. You know, just the same as you would any of the other setups. Jig head, knocker rig, pretty much that's how you do for Sheepshead. Alright, now the next one I'm going to show you here is the split shot rig, and this is mine, except for the jig head, this is probably the easiest setup. Just take your hook, take your line, tie your hook on. With the split shot rig, you can adjust how much weight you have it on the fly. You know, if you want a little bit heavier weight or if you want a little bit lighter weight, you can add or remove split shot. So I just tied the hook on the line. And then you're just going to take your split shot, which is just a small little piece of lead here. I don't know how well you can see that, but just a small little piece of lead. And you probably want to put it, you know, 4 or 5 inches above the hook. And you just squeeze it together. And you can put multiples on there, you know, 2, 3, 4, 1, you know. Your weight's going to be determined by the depth and the current. So if you got a lot of current that's real deep, you're going to need a lot of weight. If it's shallow and not a lot of current, one split shot and the hook will suffice. You don't want to overweight it. You don't, unless you're in really high current situations, you don't really want to feel the weight of the lead. You want to feel the fish, but you don't want to feel the weight. So you want to use as small a weight as possible to get the job done, in my opinion. But that's 4 simple and very effective ways to rig up your rods for Sheepshead. I use a combination of all those all the time. I probably primarily use the Carolina rig and the jig head the most. But I've got a few places that are real low current, real shallow water, and they're real finicky fish, so I use the split shot rig there, and that works really well. Especially if it's clear water, you know. If it's real clear water, that split shot rig works pretty well because it's a very light tackle scenario, and the fish just, you know, they don't pick up on it. But I hope this helps. Hope this gives you some options whenever you go out this winter. You know, there's other ways to rig too. This is just 4 simple ones. There's drop shot, and there's probably a dozen or so other ways you can tie on, but you know, these are the 4 that I use the most common, and they work for me, and they'll work for you. So you know, take whichever one of these you want, and you know, a combination of them. Try them all, and see which one you like best, and you know, it'll improve your fishing game. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. We'll see you out there.